Hey y'all, hey, it's JJ Conway. I'm super excited to be here with you today. I am really this is a very powerful topic that we're going to be talking about tonight. Private Lending 101, the power and pitfalls of other people's money. I want to encourage you today that it is absolutely possible to use real estate investing to get out of debt, to create a debt-free life, and to build wealth for you and your family and your future generations. And so we're going to talk about one of the hottest topics in real estate tonight, which is private lending. Private lending is always a little bit awkward for a gal who teaches a debt-free lifestyle. So I'm going to show you how I handle the topic of private lending, and I'm going to show you some ways that you can apply these techniques to your life. So stay tuned. Let me pull up the slides. All right, all right. So for those of you who may be watching after the fact, or you don't know me, or you're watching through YouTube, and for those of you who are listening on free conference call, I want to appreciate you for being here. We've now just got a combined total of 1,100 members on our meetup platforms, both our Bossier City platform, as well as our Alexandria, Virginia platform, which is where Building Wealth Together started. So it's always nice to see those numbers keep bump up. They bump up, they bump down, they bump up, they bump down. But it's always nice to see that. So today we officially went over 1,100 combined members in our wealth building group. So I'm very, very excited about that. If you're a member of one of those groups, thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for staying subscribed. All right. We all had our pandemic growing pains, and we've adapted. And even though everybody's online, there's nothing like being in person. So I'm very much looking forward to finding a location where we can begin having in-person classes. But since I live a little ways out, what we're probably going to end up doing is having virtual one-day summits all around the country. And if you have a location and you want to have us come and bring a summit to your location, you let me know, because I am very much open to anywhere. My only requirements are that there's a way for my family to have some fun while I'm there. Does that sound reasonable to you? It sounds reasonable to me. All right, let's get into our topic today. Our topic today is private lending. Private Lending 101. And what I like about today's class is that it helps people who were oops, I gotta move the right thing. Hold on, let me get back to it. All right. There we go. What I like about private lending is that this class is going to answer a lot of questions for you, especially if you've been on everybody else's real estate investment thing, and they're always talking about other people's money and leveraging debt, and a smart person will leverage debt, and who on earth would ever live a debt-free lifestyle? Like, why would you ever use your own money to buy a house? Oh my goodness, that's so antiquated, and that's so sluggish and so slow. Or is it? All right. So we're going to talk about private lending, and I'm going to tell you what I've done in my investment career that allows me to sleep very well at night within the context of private lending. All right. So now, the agenda for today, I'm going to make two promises to you, and I'll get that on the next slide, I think. We're going to do an overview. This is a slide that I adapted from an old one when we still had an in-person location and we had members and sponsors. We are currently not charging for members because I am getting settled in a new location. So we are not going to do open mic today. But if you have comments, if you have questions, if you are listening live on free conference call, then you can do *61. If you're watching live on YouTube or Facebook, or Instagram, not Instagram, LinkedIn now, you can add that comment, and then I will see the comments. And then when I see your comment come in, I can answer your question. I'll probably finish my thought first, though, really. Okay. We're going to do a quick summary of real estate investing 101. We're going to talk about why real estate, talk about different ways to profit. I need to change that. It's really 20, but I'm not going to change it right now because we're going to get into the meat of our conversation today, which is private lending. Okay. And we are not going to do the actual private lender presentation because this was originally part of a larger thing, and I just forgot to take that off. This was originally part of a larger Real Estate 101 all day daily. That's a fundraiser for Global Youth Initiative, which I'll talk to you about on a later slide. But 2 promises I'm going to give you today. One, I'm going to teach you something you can use tonight. And I'm also going to stay on till all your questions are answered. So I need to make that 3 promises. I've been saying 2 promises for like 4 years, right? But it's really 3 promises because I will stay on till your questions are answered. Now look, it's been a real long day and I haven't seen Mr. Man except in passing at the football game. So, if y'all don't have any questions, I'm not making up any questions. I'm not staying on. I'm not just going to jabber to hear myself talk tonight. All right. But I'm going to make sure you get your questions answered tonight. All right. And then I'm also going to give you opportunity to dig a little deeper. Now, like I said before, this is our Global Youth Initiative fundraiser. So I'm going to ask, this is going to be a gentleman's agreement, okay? I'm going to ask you not to screenshot my slides without sending some level of donation, whether it's $1 a slide, $5 a slide, $20, $25, $2,500. Send me some money for the Global Youth Initiative as a thank you for making this content that others have paid thousands of dollars for, making it free for you today, okay? This is my way of giving back, asking you to help me give back to the community. And tomorrow, I'm just going to slide this little plug in, okay? They are fundraising for our annual Heart of Gold game. I would have done it earlier today because the money's due Monday, but I haven't received the background story. I just received the order form. Normally there's a background story and it makes me cry because I identify with the young person who had the accident that we're trying to help, right? And so I just want to let you know that's coming. JJ is coming after your money today, but it's for a good cause, all right? All right. But for this fundraiser, this is for our Global Youth Initiative. And let me see if I've got a thing here on it. No, that's for Dr. Jonas. I need to take that off. Well, it's the same Cash App and thing. Wow, I should have set that up before we started. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Support Global Youth Initiative of Erath County and Global Youth Initiative Architects with a donation any size. You can send that to paypal.me, Queen of Cashflow, or Cash App, Queen of Cashflow. All right. So that's what this is. This is part of our fundraiser. We used to do it as a one-day event, and I've broken it up and done it monthly now. And I'm asking you, please, sir, please, ma'am, please send a donation to our fundraiser. Okay, there's also a bit.ly.love helping. If you do not like those apps, you can go through the Square site and it'll give you a couple of boxes there. One's for Global Youth Initiative, one's for my military single moms, and that's just a regular straight credit card. You don't have to use the Cash App for that. Okay. Another admin note, I will stay until the last question's answered, but if you want to be anonymous, go to askjjc.com and you can ask an anonymous question there, okay? Before I get into it, just a little background about building wealth together. For those of you who are new to me, I like to say we're not get rich quick, we're get rich right. Now, there are a lot of legit ways to get rich, okay? There are a lot of legit ways to build wealth. There are a lot of legit ways to walk in abundance and to have the prosperity and health that is promised to us, okay? There are many different ways, but as a financial planner, what I look into is what works for the most of the people that come to me. That's the kind of thing that I teach publicly. If you've got a certain different little thing and it works for your personality, that's great. We can sit down and brainstorm together how to make it better for you. But for the most part, what I teach is going to be something that works for everybody who does that. And my method of investing really is investing without debt. That doesn't necessarily mean you may not handle debt products, but you are not taking on more debt. And that's what I want for you, because I want you to be able to sleep well at night. And when the dust settles on your investments, I want you to have something. And what is Warren Buffett says? You ought to own something other than debt. All right. So that's my method of investing. And like I said, there's other ways to invest. There's other ways to get rich, but I look at what works for everybody who works it. And very few other strategies work for everybody who works it. Like I said, this is our Global Youth Initiative fundraiser. I think most of you know me. I'm going to leave this slide up for just a little bit. In case you didn't, but I've been financially coaching people ever since 1998 when Larry Burkett helped me get out of debt over the period of 2 years, and I couldn't even afford his $8 cassette tape. class. So he gave it to me for free and said, just help somebody else with it. And so that's when I started my journey of helping people out of money. All right. We bought our first house in 99 and realized that real estate was an amazing thing. Got all excited about real estate, did what all the gurus teach you to do, and lost everything through other people's money and reintroducing debt. So with $845,000 of divorce debt, most of that which was over leveraged properties, I feel like Farmers Insurance, I know a thing or two about getting out of debt, y'all. And I now empower women to improve their lives through financial management, workplace excellence, and real estate education. All right. One of the big motivations for me in starting this business when I did was that I never wanted to be homeless again. And I didn't want my kid's future to be in somebody else's hand. At the time, I only had the one child, but I never ever wanted to have to live off of going to Bible studies and taking home a big plate of food or running around from store to store eating up their free samples. I had a vision for my life that didn't include always scrimping and scraping to get by. And I bet today you probably feel like as hard as you work, you shouldn't have to keep scrimping and saving to get by. And if you put these lessons that I teach you, even if you never buy a house, if you put these lessons that I'm teaching you into practice, if you put these principles into practice, you yourself will be able to have the life that you have dreamed of. You'll be able to have the life that you've been called to live, and you'll be able to use your giftings and your talents to serve the communities. And that's what I'm doing right now. I am helping change communities through financial empowerment. And I love, love, love what I do. I already talked about how I invest without debt, so we're going to skip past that slide real quick. I want to get to a good review. Some of you might feel like, well, gee, she's rushing through this pretty fast, more faster than she normally does. Well, it's because we're starting later. My son, we thought he was going to be varsity. He got a little varsity jersey for practice, and then he got injured and got dropped back down to JV. So that's Thursday nights. And so I had it all laid out. Look, y'all, look, can I just take an aside real quick? Anybody else here ever lived through their kids? Anybody else? Please tell me I'm not the only one that's ever like lived vicariously through my child, right? Like I had it all planned out based on his football career, right? Oh my goodness. Oh, the Lord taught me a lesson, didn't he? So yeah, we started a little late because I want to be able, I mean, that's the promise I made to him when I retired. I was going to be at every game I could possibly be at. And I missed the first couple this year because I thought he was going to be on varsity and I had scheduled speaking engagement to get back in time for the varsity game, you know. Thank you, anonymous Facebook user. Thank you. I am not alone. I was talking to somebody the other day and I was like, I work real, real hard to be a good mom. I don't know that I'm a perfect mom. I'm sure I'm not. I'm sure a perfect mom makes lots of mistakes. One of my mentors used to call it being perfectly imperfect, right? And but one thing I do know is my kids know I love them. And my kids know that although I won't put up with a whole lot of foolishness, that I would give them the world if I could. And my kids know that even though I am a driven person and I'm going to make sure that we take care of business, they know that I'm never too busy to have some fun with them. Never too busy to show up to their games anymore. I learned that lesson the hard way. Okay, let me get off that soapbox, y'all, and get on back to these slides, okay? Number one rule of real estate investing, if you follow this rule, you are absolutely 100% gonna be successful. And like Tim Cook, who we met today at his rehab property, told the group, I have never lost any money. I wish I had that testimony, but I didn't always follow the number one rule of real estate investing, which is you make your money when you buy. And a most important thing that a real estate investor needs to know is how to obtain their secret weapon that will help them make their money when they buy. And that is, anybody know? Go ahead and drop it in the chat if you do. All right. You notice I changed my slides up. Look, I tried to streamline them, but now I think I might go back to the old one. All right. Other investors. It's important to connect with other investors who know the neighborhoods, who know the trades, who know the things that you need to know to be successful, to make money, not lose money. All right. So it's very important to build an investor list. And how do you do that? All right. If you're live, drop it in the chat. If you're on free conference call, you can do *6. Well, let me check. You know what? I just realized I don't have free conference call handy to know when people are asking a question. Okay. Hey, y'all on free conference call. I thank y'all for being here. Look, I hired somebody new to help me with my business, and they were like, wow, it's been years since I used that system. I'm like, what you trying to say? It works. I'm gonna come up. I promise. I promise. But right now, this is where we're at. All right. All right. So we're gonna build our investor list and buyers list through going to places where other investors are, and that would be our real estate association meetings, our real estate association groups, any active rehabs you got out there. You can even call the bandit signs, and we go into depth on that in the real estate I'm sorry, y'all, the driving for dollars 101 and the wholesaling 101. If you're just new to this, if you're just happening to see this and you've never watched any of my series before, you got to get the beginning, all right? Because we summarize over 20 different ways to make money in real estate. Most of them, you don't have to buy the house. And then I walk through how to find properties, how to find investors, how to find people who want to buy properties with people who want to sell properties, how to acquire your properties. We go through private lending, which is today. I meant to say we go through creative financing. How do you buy a house when you got no credit, no money? How do you get somebody to just give you a house and you just take over their payments? Like, we have covered all of that this year. So you absolutely, absolutely, absolutely want to get on this train and learn how to do this stuff the right way so you can make money instead of losing money. You've been working too hard doing all these other things, and you've been burning the candle at both ends. And when the dust settles, you look around and you ain't got nothing to show for it. And it's time out for that. It's time for you to have something that you can look back on and say, I did that. It's time for you to have something that your kids can look back on and say, my mama did that. And then there's time for us to have something that we can pass on to the next generation. And I'm not just talking about cash money. I'm not just talking about cars and purses and a house. I'm talking about a legacy of wealth building. I'm talking about a legacy of being able to do for yourself when everybody else is against you, when job doors close in your face, when layoffs happen, when you can't get an interview because your mom decided to give you a family name instead of giving you a name from a different culture. Now you can't hardly get an interview. Oh, I'm not going to get on that soapbox, I promise. But somebody was very upset the other day about some of the reviews they had to do to publish, some of the cultural sensitivity reviews. And I was like, I've been having to culturally sensitize my review, what I do and say, for a long time. I had to be careful what I named my kids. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, we're not going to talk about it today because I'm going to stay on topic. My husband is bringing me back a steak and I intend to eat it with him while it's still warm. Got to tell myself these things, right, y'all? Look. He already knows that when I say a class is going to be short, that's the day that 20 people sign up with really juicy questions that I really want to answer, right? So I think I think it's quite all right if you have questions today. Okay, don't let me make you think I don't want you to ask questions. But the thing is, too many of us have been working too hard, and the only people that are making money off of us are the people who are trying to encourage us to go this way or go that way. Have you ever noticed that? Have you ever noticed that you buy into business opportunity after business opportunity after business opportunity, and the only people that are making money are the ones who signed you up? And they bounce from business opportunity to the next one, and then they get you to sign up, but by the time you sign up, the market is saturated. Now you're out. And you lost money. They made money. You lost money. They made money off you. You lost money because there wasn't anybody else left for you to bring in. Now, I'm not knocking network marketing. It's actually a very wonderful business model. And I intend to one day have a certification program that incentivizes people bringing others in. Like there's nothing wrong with that model. But some of us, we always seem to be at the tail end of these things. It's time for you to be out in front. It is time for you to be out in front. And what I'm teaching you today is going to help you get out in front. All right. All right. So we want to go where the investors are to build our investor list. And trust me, good quality investors don't have a problem with teaching you how to do what they do because they know that they are at a different place in their business. So let me come off the slide real quick because this is an important point. So I want to speak directly to you about this point. Accomplished investors who've been doing the thing for a while. All right. Yeah. Hold on. Let's celebrate the end. Let's let this be a never again moment. We are tired of being at the tail end. Today begins the first day of the rest of your life. It is time to turn this train around and put it in the direction you want it to go. All right. I'm giving y'all a clap today. Wait, where's that buzzer? Oh, I got to show y'all this. I don't have it here. I finally got my mail. And Dr. Cheryl Wood for Global Speaker University sent a buzzer, an applause, a cheers buzzer. Oh my goodness, y'all, it's fabulous. Okay, I'm gonna get that thing. We're gonna start having some sound effects up in here. Okay, but here's the thing: in experienced investors, people who've been doing this for a while, okay, they don't mind showing you how to do what you need to do because it comes back to them. I teach you how to wholesale. Guess who's the first person you're bringing a deal to for analyzing? Me. And if I want it, I'll buy it and get you the wholesale fee, right? And if I have a deal that comes along and it's only a, it's only a $5,000 deal, well, I mean, I'm not trying to be funny or anything, but I'm not doing all that rehab work for $5,000. I'm just not. I got other things I could be doing to make more money with my time. But I know a single mom who $5,000 would rock her world right now. And I would happily give her that deal, show her how to walk through that deal, mentor her through that deal, maybe take a small cut of it in case if I put anything into it, right? But I would happily let her take that $5,000 and change her life because she's willing to put in the work. And so when experienced investors see that you're willing to put in the work, they know that they can show you and mentor you on how to do it, and it always comes back around. When you find a deal that's 50,000, that's 100,000 because they gave you the 5,000 and you're not at the place yet to deal with a $900,000 property, they know that it'll come back to them. So you want to look for quality investors who are willing to pour into you. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody's going to pour into you for free. There was one guy on Bigger Pockets. I have a blog on Bigger Pockets, and lately I've been forgetting to post to it. So I really need to get better about that. But there was a guy on there one time. He's like, well, where's all this free help I'm supposed to be getting? How come nobody's doing this, and that for me? And everybody jumped on him like, oh my goodness, you are so entitled. But when you see somebody that really wants to change their life and they're willing to put in the sweat equity, there's almost just something in you that just wants to help and wants to mentor. Okay. And so don't be afraid to pay for that time and mentoring. I mean, payment is the gate, right? Payment opens the gate, right? But don't think that nobody wants to really show you. There's at some point you got to trust somebody to help you move forward when it comes to real estate. But the secret to building wealth in real estate, make your money when you buy and leverage relationships with other investors. All right. All right. So on the next slide, I'm going to show you my time money continuum. As we continue our review, I just want to remind you, people that have more time than money can make big money locating deals for investors who have more money than they have time to do the research. Okay. And so we covered in the Driving for Dollars 101, how to really find properties and how to analyze them and how to really run through the numbers, even if you have very little experience. Okay. So this is my time money continuum. These are the different ways to make money in real estate. I recommend that if you don't have any money, you don't have any credit, you don't have any assets to bring to the table, then you stick with the things that don't take a lot of money, where you can leverage your time for somebody else's money. And that would be bird dogging, wholesaling, things like that. You'll notice private lending, which is what we're talking about today, is on this continuum twice, because you can private lend with small amounts and you can private lend with large amounts. Okay. So we're going to talk about that today. Now, remember, this is our charity event. This is our fundraising. So if you want to help us out, PayPal or Cashapp to Queen of Cashflow. We would love, love, love you if you would help us out prepping for the next Global Youth Initiative. All right. So now finally to our topic of private lending. So what is a private lender? Okay. Private lender simply means anybody who's got money and loans it to somebody else. And there's all these crowdfunding and crowdsourcing and crowd lending sites out there now. So it's becoming more of a familiar thing. When I started in real estate, it really wasn't that familiar. When I started in real estate, it was really more like you either went through a bank, you went through your savings, or you went through a hard money lender. Okay. And so you have that. You have that there. And we just want to know today, it's basically anybody who's lending money. And there's all kinds of different ways that you can get real estate through somebody lending you money. And it doesn't have to just be residential. It can also be commercial. And all the techniques that we talk about with real estate can work through private lending, flipping, renting, renovating, anything. Okay. And so the other thing is you can also get what you need for any other business. So maybe real estate's not your jam yet. You're just kind of testing the waters. Well, what I'm going to show you with real estate actually applies to any other business. In fact, in a second, I'm going to give you an example of somebody who was in a different business who used the same principle. And you might ask yourself, why on earth would somebody do this? Well, the reason people do this, especially when they fund somebody else's real estate deals, is because they get higher returns than the market. And for me and a lot of other established investors, this is a way to give back without giving away. Like, you always look for ways to help people elevate their lives, but you try to give a hand up, not a hand out, right? And so you can look at it that way. And you can also imagine that there are people out there who are only making 1% in their, money market lockdown CD account, right? They might be getting 1% back on their credit cards if they still have them, right? They might be doing this and that and the other, making a measly 1, maybe 2%. They're in the market. The market's kind of squirrely now, but I like to look at it as having a sale, so I'm not worried about that. But even when the market goes up and down, your industry standard average is 8%. Well-managed fund people say 10 to 12%, but the industry average standard, what I put down on the test for my financial certificate, all right, was 8% is the average of the market, right? Well, maybe you're later in life, maybe you had 800 something thousand dollars of debt to overcome. Who knows what it is that's motivating you to need more money faster? But private lending represents a way to make more money faster. And so anybody would be, if it's a fit and if they are educated into why this is a good process for them. Okay. So anybody can be a private lender. Y'all know me. I'm not a big fan of friends and family. Okay. I'm not a big fan of doing this with friends and family until you know what you're doing. Okay. And like I said on the time money continuum slide, you can be a private lender with a lot of money. Oh, let me make the slide bigger for you so you can see it easier. You can be, or do y'all like seeing me? Somebody drop a comment and let me know which one you prefer. Whether you want me to make the slide bigger like this, or do you want to see me in this next to the slide? Okay, so just drop that in the comments. Otherwise, I'm gonna leave it like this, because I can't see me when I'm doing this, so I don't know. Maybe I look wonky today. um, but you can be a private lender whether you have a lot of money and you're on one side of the continuum, or you just have a little bit of money and you're on the other side of the continuum. Okay. If you have a little bit of money, you're funding a part of the deal. So maybe you got 7 investors, they're all chipping in 5,000 each. Okay. I used to do that when I first started dipping my toe back into the waters of real estate. I was recovering from all that debt and I had a threshold. If I made X amount of money, once I had my savings account and once I had paid down all the consumer debt, so that all that was left was real estate debt, that what I would do is I would take the money I was making and I would put half into saving up to pay down the next property, and then I would put half into a fund for real estate. And so when I would get $5,000 or I would get $3,000 or I would get however much I got, then I would turn that around. And that started an engine that helped me really attack that $800,000 of debt. Okay. And so I didn't want to do all of my money that way because I wasn't sure how it would work out. But, I just dipped my toe in the water. So so today, when people partner with me, we do it more of a partnership rather than a lending situation. But when people partner with me, I'm getting compensated for my time and expertise in doing the rehab, whereas they are getting compensated in part for what they're putting in, and a huge part of their compensation is the education that they're getting as we walk together through the property. Okay, so if you have a lot of money, like you retired with a 401k that had over $500,000 in it, and you took half of that and put it in a self-directed IRA, and now you could become a hard money lender where you go out there and you fund other people's deals. It also gives you the opportunity to leverage other strategies such as like rent to owns and lease options. Okay. Hey, I'm so glad you're on today. Oh, I'm so excited for your upcoming taping. Oh my goodness. I just love the fact that the Lord has surrounded me with people who are doing something to change the world. All right, y'all. Y'all need to check out Takesha Heilig, her and her husband, the Millionaire Power Couple. They are helping people keep their marriages together and make them even better. Oh my goodness. All right. Okay, so I'm going to give you two examples, and I am going to beg indulgence here because I realize I have talked so long that we are nowhere near as far as we're supposed to be right now. So I'm going to go super fast in this, okay? I understand that and I acknowledge that I'm going to go super fast. I'm going to leave the recording up just a little bit longer so that you can go back and listen to it for over and over, okay? So normally we try to pull them down after a couple days. I'll leave it up for a week or two, okay? All right. So two examples I'm going to show you: online boutique and real estate venture. The online boutique is this young lady could get funding from small amounts from different investors who want to help her succeed. You see things like that on crowdfunding sites like Kickstarter, right? You could also get one large angel investor or venture capitalist that comes in and pays for everything that she needs to get started. Okay, that's one example. In this particular example, the person that I based this example off of raised $20,000 from private lenders, promising them a 12% interest, which means not only does she need to pay them eventually back their 20,000, but then she also has to have an extra 2.4, another 2,400 that she's going to pay them back. So she's promised to pay them back. She got to do it, right? So she takes that 20K. She knows she needs to set, well, actually, let me take that back. Most people don't do this, but I teach this. You'll see it on another slide. I teach that you immediately set aside your interest, because if nothing else, you need to be able to pay that interest payment, right? Okay, so she spent about 1,500 on a website design, which, okay, so this was, it might be a little bit more now, but I mean, I have a web hosting company. It only takes $10 to buy a name, and maybe a $25 to install the site. So people are charging $3,000 and $4,000 and $5,000. They better be giving you a lot of bells and whistles and maintenance. Anyway, I'm getting off track. Okay, gotta stay focused. She spent $1,500 on her website. She spent about $500 advertising, and then about $10,000 with her initial inventory, which, when you have a boutique, is that's not a lot of inventory. I've gone to those trade shows and done that shopping when I had Precious and Pleasant Boutique. That is not a lot of inventory, okay? The rest of the money she set aside as retained earnings, which is like a fancy business name for a savings account, okay? And her business went viral. My business never went viral when I had Precious and Pleasant Boutique, but her business went viral. $40,000 of sales in the first 6 months. Kudos to her, all right? So I want you to look at what she pulls out from the situation once it's happened, okay? Like I said in the beginning, she raised the 20K from the private lenders. She had that interest cost, okay? So we're gonna subtract out what she owes them. Can y'all see my mouse when I do that? Y'all can't really see my mouse when I do that. In that first line, she earned 40,000. We're going to subtract out the 20 and the 2,400 that she owes. Okay, so the 20K and the 2,400, we're going to subtract all that out because she got to pay those folks back. That's going to leave her with 17.6. Okay, plus she still has the 6.5 that's set aside in retained earnings, right? So wow, why didn't I add that up? That's 24,000, 24.1. Yeah, 24,100. So that's a $20,000 payday for her, and everybody got their money back, and everybody got their interest back. And so for the private lenders, it was a great value because they went in 6 months, they made 12% on their investment. Well, you're not going to find that anywhere else, okay? So it's a really great deal for them. All right. Same thing can happen in real estate. And the reason I usually start off with the boutique is because I think most of us are more familiar with investing into other people's businesses like that rather than the real estate. But it's the same principle. It's absolutely the same principle. Okay. You can take small amounts from different investors and put it together. You got to be careful how you do that. You don't want to mess up with the SEC and stuff. And if you're interested in this, I can show you how to get the education you need to make sure you dot your I's and cross your T's. All right. Or you can take a large amount from one investor, which most of the real estate investors that I know, they tend to prefer the one from one as they move up in their business. So they only have one instrument against their property. Again, it's a little squirrely for me because I'm not a big fan of taking on debt. And although I'm a big fan, if you give me your money, I don't want to have an obligation that I can't fulfill. Okay. So we'll talk more about that at some other time. But I feel like I can't not talk about real estate investing and have a year-long class on real estate investing and not teach you about this piece. Even if I'm a little hesitant about it, even if I modify how I do it compared to how others do it, right? So we don't want to be uneducated. It's like a friend of mine who said to her girls that dating was sin, and I didn't know that she had told this to her girls. And so I'm telling the story of having dated my then husband, and they're like, "Ooh, Sister Janine was in sin," and I was like, "What? I wasn't in sin. I mean, look, y'all, I had many opportunities to be in sin when I was in college, but despite my reputation, which got worse every time I tried to keep myself from getting into sin." It was like you can't win for losing, right? Um, but I was like, I don't understand why your girls think I was in sin. They're gonna go around the church, and I was already in the ministry, right? Like I'm like freaking out. Like your girls are gonna go around telling everybody I was in sin, and here I am, the youth director, talking about keeping yourself from marriage, and and she's like, oh, we told them dating was a sin because we didn't want them to even go there. And I was like, you can't teach them that dating is a sin if dating isn't a sin. Dating is not in the list of sins. So some people are like, well, I'm not even going to give you that part of real estate education because I don't think you should do this or I don't think you should do that. And I've seen too many people get in trouble. And I have, y'all. I know there's some people watching because I can see some of the people who are making comments or some of the people who are asking questions as we go through, or some of the people who are on the free conference call. I know some of you have made good money leveraging debt, and I'm not going to take that away from you. But I am going to say, as a financial planner, most of the people who come to me have lost their shirt in real estate, leveraging other people's properties and other people's monies without knowing what they're doing. All right. So in this particular example, private lending example, this particular investor, this lady right here in the middle that you can see there, she bought this property for $93,000 and spent $50,000 renovating it. Okay. Sold it for $204,000. Okay. So that would be a $61,000 profit if it was just her in it by herself, but she didn't have the money to buy it. So what did she do? She raised $150,000 from private lenders and promised them 12% interest, which would have been an $18,000 interest cost. Bought the property for 93, spent 50 on it. There was a little bit of money not spent, sold it in October for 204. Subtract all that out. Now she's got $44,000 of profit in the 5 months between May and October. Can you make a good life for you and your kids off of $44,000 of profit in 5 months? Now, some of you have higher lifestyles and higher tastes, but for most people on here, if you can make $44,000 of free and clear money in 5 months, wouldn't it change your world? Wouldn't it open up new doors and new opportunities for you? Wouldn't it allow you to sleep well at night? Oh my goodness. And I'm going to tell you about this deal. This deal, y'all, this deal, the return was phenomenal. Earned this 44,000, didn't have any cash or credit to start, just happened to know somebody who knew investors, right? So this person knew somebody who knew investors. I'm saying this because I was one of the investors. This person knew somebody who knew investors. That somebody brought us all in. And y'all, this wasn't even a good deal. This investor left way too much money on the table. She overbuilt the house for the neighborhood. And I don't know if Jaleesa's on today. I don't see her on, but she was on the original class back in 2013, I think it was 2014, when I taught about this deal. And I was like, we were researching it, and I used to back then because the state of Maryland puts everything online, and you almost can't run away. It's like you're stuck in the matrix. You can't run away from anything because it's all there. But we were analyzing the properties, and so one of the students is like, yeah, that investor overpaid for the property. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, my heart is sinking. Like, they overpaid for the property. They overbought for the property. The neighborhood can't withstand that price. And it was just a sad feeling, because I think this was in June, and we had expected the property to sell like that. It didn't sell till October. But this was a poor property. She left so much money on the table. So why would I share that with you? Because I want you to have confidence that it doesn't have to be perfect, that you don't have to be perfect, that you can do this even if you're not perfect. Even if you leave some money on the table, there's still enough money in the deal to make it be a blessing for you and your family. Woo-wee. All right, all right, all right, all right. So this is a very powerful thing. And like I was saying earlier, the reason people actually do this is sometimes to help people, but it's also because it's very, very profitable. So if you are looking to get somebody to pour into your deals, although I don't recommend that unless you meet certain parameters and you know what you're doing. Okay. Personally, I'm going to tell you this. To me, I don't feel like you're taking on debt. And I'm just going to go ahead and get this out there. And if you don't like me, that's fine. You can just go on your way. It's okay. But I love you. Personally, I feel like if you have the money in the bank to pay off, then it's not the same as taking on debt that you can't afford to pay. So if I'm putting people together in a deal and I have the money in my self-directed IRA to buy everybody else out if the deal goes south, or I have enough money in my account to buy everybody off if everybody goes south, then I'm not going to feel the same way about structuring that deal. I'm still not going to structure a deal where JJ Conway's getting sued for not paying debt. Okay, we're not doing that. All right. And that's an advanced topic. And I'm not gonna I can't cover those intricacies here. But the summary of it is, if you've got the money to pay people off if things go south, then it's not the same as racking up your credit card. Okay. So yeah, that really is an advanced topic. But people will do this because, like I said earlier, it can be very profitable. Okay. So if this is something you want to do, you want to make sure that you find people through what? Networking, advertising, finding like-minded individuals, building relationships. And I personally think, unlike a lot of people out there who say, oh yeah, go after your first deal and get somebody else to pay for it, it's going to be amazing. I'm like, having known all the mistakes I made, I wouldn't recommend anybody do that, because I think of all the money I lost and all the mistakes I made, and the water mains I didn't realize I needed to replace, but all the other advanced investors did, but I didn't even know enough to ask somebody to come help me. I just did it and was like, ah. So I wouldn't recommend doing this on your first deal. I would look for small cost ways to practice first. Maybe sow into somebody else's deal and do an earn while you learn kind of thing. I also recommend, if you are doing a private lender deal and this is not something where you have an established network, you're brand new at it, I actually recommend dealing locally. I know it's all exotic to buy something sight unseen through the internet, rehab it sight unseen through the internet, trust that the people are actually sending you the pictures and not lying to you on the internet, and sell it sight unseen to somebody else who's going to love that house again on the internet. Doesn't that just sound so nice? Like, I could just totally do this in my pajamas behind my computer screen, right? That just sounds so lovely. But I have not found the things that work out that well. Personally, I have not found those kind of deals work out that well. I'm the kind of person that when I found something that sounded like it was a great deal and I went and finally drove over there to take a look at it, if the house was actually burnt down, or this beautiful 5-acre plot of land was landlocked by everybody else's neighboring house, and it was their backyard play space. And then nobody in that neighborhood was going to give me no easement to come on through and build something back there, right? So there's things like that they're really only quantifiable if you are eyes on the ground, or you have a network and connections that can be your eyes on that ground in that neighborhood that you can trust. All right. All right. All right. So really, when it comes down to it, the number one skill that you need for private lending deals to work isn't actually being able to do the rehab. I mean, being able to do the rehab will be very important because I'm going to need you to make the money, right? I'm going to need you to come through and pull through, come correct, whatever the phrases you like to use. I'm going to need you to do the thing and actually make the money and pay back your private lenders, right? Or pay out your partners or buy out your partners, okay? Depending on the jurisdiction that you're in and what kinds of deals you're allowed to structure and prefer to structure. The number one ability other than being able to do that is really generating trust, because you can know how to do a rehab all day long. And if people don't trust you, they're not going to give you their money. And it's sad sometimes because a lot of us, we know what we're doing. We know exactly what we're doing, but for some reason, people look at us and they're like, well, they don't know what they're doing. Now, look, I know sometimes it's because you might be it might be because you're a particular gender or a particular color, and some of those things you really is hard to change and still be true to who you are, right? But some of those things are the way we present ourselves, and I know I've been bad about that. I didn't realize how I was, and so there's two different things you got to do. You got to attract people into your I was about to say private lending lair. That's really not the word I want, right? But you've got to get people who might want to be private lenders in. But once you've got them in, you got to educate them. And it's hard to educate people who don't think you know what you're talking about, who don't trust you, because some vibe you're giving is sending them the wrong message, some energy, some vibration, right? And so, how do we educate private lenders? Well, we have dinners or webinars or even a one-on-one coffee discussion, and we do things that perk them up and make them interested, such as offering an interest rate that's well above what they can make in the market. So when I first started in real estate investing, I don't know how many of y'all are in my age bracket or older, and you know me, you know this, how this was. When I first started, interest rates were in the teens, right? They were high, and they were coming down when I first got started in real estate, but they had been so high that, people, I think we paid 9% interest for our first house, I think. And then in 99, and then and before that, they were in like the 13s, and I was like, woo, by the time you calculate that payment, it was ridiculous. And I'm worried sometimes that we're going back to those times, but that's how the market goes. It goes up and down and up and down. And the Fed, they adjust the rates to do whatever they think is going to help the economy be more stabilized. Well, in this case, the interest rates have been going up, right? Well, but back then, when I got started, back then the interest rates were anywhere between 9 to 13 or so%. So private lenders were making 18 to 20%. In fact, when I dusted off my original slides, when I started teaching this class, when I dusted off my original private lending slides, they said 18%. 18% and 20% if you let it ride. So, I mean, the times have changed. A year or two ago, when all the interest rates were like twos and threes, people for private lending were getting 8 and 10. And I'm like, well, gee, I can go into the stock market for that. Well, that didn't last very long, but it was, more it's how it goes, right? So, anywho, I just want you to think about this for a second. It's not always just about the skill set and your ability to go in there and turn a property around or stage it beautifully, or put it in the system because you have a really good realtor friend, right? It's also about letting people feel like they can trust you with their money. And so, and you're paying them enough to really want to entice them. And in my case, I like to do extras to entice you to not have me to do more paperwork and not make me have to do more rigmarole and calculations. And so I give people enticements to keep their money in. We finish one property, they keep their money in the membership, and it just keeps rolling on, right? And so in order to do that, though, it's really helpful to understand what your personality says about you and how it comes across to others. Like, I had to learn my super high energy, y'all. My super high energy was turning people off. And so I told you in the beginning, I was going to give you an opportunity to dig deeper. And there's two ways I'm going to do that today. The first one is through what we call the Communication Impact Report and Workshop. Now, at what the super crazy low price I'm going to give you. I'm not doing a one-on-one. This is a group session that'll be scheduled at some point. Okay. But this is a John Maxwell based communication. It's based on DISC, and what DISC does that's different from other ones that I love and am certified in, like Myers-Briggs and True Colors and things like that. What DISC does is it says, this is what your behavior says about you to other people, whether or not it's you. Because I don't know if y'all like me. How many of us have ever taken one of those tests, right? Those personality tests, and people are like, "Oh wow, this is really me," and you're like, "That's not me. That's not me. That's not me. That's not me." And you're like, "What is this?" Well, what the DISC does is it's showing you what your behavior is saying about you to other people. And a lot of times our behavior is incongruent with what we really want out of life and what we really feel deep down inside. And so the DISC is pretty cool, especially John Maxwell's version of it, because it gives you what your behavior says to others, what you think others are expecting of you, which can be different from what your behavior says. Okay, what you think others are expecting of you, and the algorithm's closest approximation to what you really are thinking and feeling and what you really want out of life. And I love that. I haven't seen that in any other package of DISC. And so the communication impact report and workshop, which is a group workshop, normally is $79. Today, you're going to get it for $49. You're going to get an insight into what your mannerisms say about you. Like for me, I'm high energy. I'm like, come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. I'm high energy. I don't have time to waste. I don't want to sit around and watch TV for 5 hours. I've learned to sit around and watch TV for 2 or 3 hours because that's what my family likes to do. I've learned how to do that because I love them and I want to spend time with them. But I'm a let's go, right? Like that's me. I want to go. But that scares people. It does not build trust. And to me, I think it the other way. Like I would figure you trust the person who wants to get stuff done more than the person who wants to sit on the couch. But the person who wants to sit on the couch matches their energy better. The person that sits on the couch is more chill. The person who sits on the couch is not going to necessarily make them feel bad about themselves. I was making people feel bad about themselves. So if you are like I was, and every once in a while still am, if I'm honest, you might want to get this report to help you build those relationships with the people that have the money you need to do what you want to do. All right. So that's the first way I'm going to give you. Okay. The other way I'm going to give you, and it says pause for Q&A, but I think we're almost done actually. The other way I'm going to give you is if you want to look over my shoulder for a real world private lender presentation. So I'm going to get some people together. I'm actually going to give my private lender presentation with a real world example from where I live. If you want to be a part of that, you want to either come live, you want to make the drive down to Stephenville live. If you're in the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex, you want to come on down. You're in Abilene, you're in Waco, you want to drive up. I'm pretty centrally located. You can come on up and do that in person, or you can get it on Zoom. You can get the recording to it. Either way, you're going to get the slides that I use. You're going to get those slides and be able to customize them for whatever you do for your stuff. Okay. So that's another way that you can dig deeper. All right. So before I do the questions and answers, I've just got a couple more slides. Remember, this used to be an all day thing. And so we're not doing all day today. We're just doing tonight. And so we're going to stop for questions in just a second. Let me go ahead and check though to make sure I don't have any burning ones here in the chat. I don't see any burning ones here. Let me check the free conference call. I don't see anybody with raised hands on free conference call. Okay. Let me go through these last couple of slides because it's not always just about getting people in. You want people who are going to actually stick. Okay. I have not yet booked it. So it's going to depend on who's in the program and what we do. If they're all virtual, if they're all going to be virtual, then I'm going to plan it around a virtual time that works the best for everybody. If there's enough interest locally, so where I am is about 2 hours from Dallas. If there's enough interest locally, then we will set up something that responds to the people who are there. So I hope that's making sense. Like sometimes I like to put things out there. I'm gonna plant a flag and boom, this is when we're gonna do it. Other times it's like, okay, well, let me just see how I can accommodate as many people as possible. All right. So with our private lenders, we want to make sure that we care and feed them well because they're like gold, and it's hard to recover trust once it's broken. Once you lose somebody's money, man, it's really difficult for them to ever trust you again. And even worse, it's difficult for them to ever recommend their friends to you. Okay. And so my personal recommendation is anything you got to pay back, you hold that. Now, when you first get started, the interest, you got to hold that back. I wouldn't spend it. Now, personally, I wouldn't take somebody's money for a deal unless I had that money elsewhere that I could give to them so that if everything happened, well, my savings depletes, but at least I stay on good terms with the people that are sewing into me, you know? And so that's my own personal thing. But what you can do is definitely, if nothing else, you get that money off the top, you take back the interest that you're going to need to pay and put it aside in a separate account where you're not going to be tempted to touch that, because if nothing else, you want to make those payments, okay, according to your agreement. I like the idea. I think this is really good for trust to have kickoff events and progress events where the investors who've poured into you or are partnering with you, depending on how you structured it, they can come in and see the property, see how the venture is coming along. And really, that's why I call it an earn while you learn kind of thing. You're sowing into somebody else's investment and you're getting a return, but they're getting a bigger return, but they're also putting in more of the work. But while they're putting in the work, you get to look over their shoulder and you're able then to learn more about real estate investing. And then one day you'll do like I did. You'll be like, wait a second, I could do what she did. And then you will. I hope. Or maybe you'll like being a passive investor. Ain't nothing wrong with being a passive investor now. Don't let me make it sound like the only way you got to have respect in my book is to be all active and have, have your hands knee deep in all the elbow grease, right? Like, no, no. You know what? Sometimes set it and forget it works. Sometimes I'm gonna do this passively so I can be active in other things that are more important to me. Okay. It's all good. It's all good. All right. So how do you find people? How do you find people to do this? Okay. I think I already talked about this. So this slide probably should have been hidden. Let me just make sure that all the other slides that should have been hidden are hidden. Hold on. Because I think I already talked about that and I don't want to repeat myself when I got a hot steak waiting for me. Now, I'm saying that, but please, 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 if you've got a question, drop it in here, because if you don't drop it in here, I'm gonna go get me my hot steak. But I live for your questions. Okay. Yeah, so we already covered those things, but you find it by the same way you find deals, you find the same way you find end buyers, the same way you find trades through other real estate investors. Okay. Now this slide, I like this slide. We had this sign earlier, but I like this because a lot of times people are scared of getting started. And if I was to redo this slide, I would probably just take out this first line, but focus on the second one that says, whoops, go back. Once you've established a successful track record, then you can begin to advertise, but may not need to. Once you're doing something for somebody, sometimes people don't want other people to know about their success, but a lot of times other people are like, yeah, well, you ought to get into this. I'm making 10% doing nothing. It's a passive investment and it's churning me some good money, especially if you're investing in your self-directed IRA and all that money is tax free. I like tax free. Look, I'm not trying to steal nothing, but if Uncle Sam gives me a way to legally be tax free, oh, I want to take that. All right. And so you'll find that once you do these deals and you give results, then people are going to start seeking you out because everybody wants results. All right. So we've talked about using private lenders to fund your rehab deals, and we've also talked about being the other side of it, where you're the being the lender to grow your 401, I mean not 401k, your self-directed IRA and things like that. In a future class, if there's enough interest, then we will take it to the next level. And this next level is now note buying. So, note buying, creating the notes, creating your own notes, taking off somebody else's underperforming note and then restructuring that note. And that's like the next level. And it all starts with being comfortable weaving in and out of this whole private lender space. So if this is something that you're interested in, the note buying, it's definitely something it's interested in for me. It's the next. Right now I'm focusing on subject to acquire some properties, and once I finish acquiring what I want to acquire, and selling off what I need to sell off on the East Coast, then my next juicy target is going to be note buying. So I think note buying is going to be what I want to learn about in 2023. If you're new to me in my body of work, every year I try to learn something new. And a couple years ago, I learned about tax certificates in Louisiana, which is different from every other state in the nation. And now I'm learning about tax deeds in Texas, where I used to do tax liens in Maryland. So I'm going to have the whole tax trinity, if you will, right? But once I get some of the get these subject to deals that I'm working done, I will go into note buying, and I hope that you'll be along with me for that journey. All right. So I am not going to talk about those things tonight. And those are more slides I should have hid because I don't want to talk about them tonight. But let's see. I think I hid the rest of them because again, that's an advanced topic. And we did do a foreclosure investing. So if you saw me flash that slide real quick, there is a foreclosure investing 101 that should be out there on YouTube. I don't think I pulled it off yet. So you can go out there. All right, we're down to the last stretch. Hope you remember my 2 promises where I said I was going to teach you something you can use tonight. I was going to stay on until the questions are answered. I'm going to check free conference call one more time. I don't see any hands raised in free conference call, but I'm going to tell you something else. I also said I was going to give you an opportunity to dig deeper. And I've given you 2 opportunities today to dig deeper. Okay. This is what my private lending slides look like. Okay. And so, if you are interested, you get the opportunity to not only see me deliver these slides, but also to get your own PowerPoint of these slides so that you can adapt the text and the names and the company names and the pictures of the real estate and all that. You can adjust all that for your situation, and you can give your own private lender presentation. I've also made available to you the communication impact report, through which is a John Maxwell product, and that says 79. It really has gone up in price since it really has gone up in price since I originally made the slide. So I'm a little embarrassed right now, but that's okay. My pain is your gain, right? So you can get both of those for only $129, and the way you can do it is to Cash App or PayPal me, Queen of Cashflow, whichever fee is what you want. So you notice I made them all different, so I would know what you're sending me money for. You could also put it in the comments. I mean, that's always one way to be safe, better than sorry, right? All right. Well, that's all I have for you today. That's our private lending 101. While I check to see if there's any questions in the askjjc.com, you can go ahead and drop your questions in the chat. And I hope that you've learned a lot today, and I hope you've been encouraged to try something new with your real estate investing. Try it safely, but try something new. Yeah, I tell you what, y'all, I was so surprised when Tim Cook was like, yeah, I've never lost money on a real estate deal. I was like, what? And later on, I was talking to his wife. They had an excellent caterer at the event today. That I was talking to Tim's wife, and she was like, he's very detail oriented and very analytical. That's why he hasn't lost money. Now, there's been times where he hasn't made money, but he hasn't lost any money. Okay. All right. I don't see any questions in there. I hope that means I've answered all your questions and that you really enjoyed yourself today. I thank you all for being here. Yes, ma'am. It is $129 for both. So now this is only open today, of course, right? It's only open until midnight today. So when I wake up, midnight Pacific time. So when I wake up to deal with my sleepy boy who always wakes up at 3 a.m, whoever has payment in there is going to get these prices. Okay. And so we will lock it down, and you will not get these prices if you don't move quickly. But it's the communication impact report for $49. And that's the disc style report that tells about your communication with others. Then it's the private lending presentation. So that's going to be the PowerPoint slides. You're going to get those right away. And then we're going to work with the group to schedule a time, whether it's in person. Well, I'm going to be in person regardless, right? But the people who buy into it, they may not be in person. My audience is not going to be private lenders. My audience, I'm probably getting too much in the weeds here. My audience is going to be people that are just there because I want to get some footage of me delivering, if that makes sense, right? I want to record me doing it. Okay? So I'm tired. My words are not coming out right. So the people who are in the audience, I mean, somebody might wander in who's like, yeah, I want to buy real estate. So look, I'm not gonna say no, like, no, I don't want your money today. Right. but but the people who are students and are getting the PowerPoint, they may not be virtual. They may be virtual. They may want to make the drive down here, and they may not. So anyway, both of them for 129, you're going to Cash App or PayPal Queen of Cashflow. All right, let me go back through the questions. I think I've answered everybody's question. Hello, evangelist from Pakistan. Thank you for joining us today. All right. Well, that's all I have for you all today. Oops, let me take that off. I did not mean to leave your comment up for all that time. And you know what? Someone's going to come across that and be like, wow, I don't know who that is, but she looks like she got some money. Let me see what she's doing. She going to get a good customer off that. Okay. All right. Well, that's all I have for you all today. I hope y'all had a great time tonight. And I thank y'all for being here, even though we started late. And, during football season, I'm just going to have to flex with these. And I appreciate your patience as I build up the precious jewel of a young man that's been entrusted to me. And that's all I've got for you today. I'm JJ Conway. Y'all take care and be blessed.